So good morning to everyone. Welcome. On behalf of the Professional Development Department, welcome to Santa Rosa Junior College's Fall 2013 Professional Development Activity Day. I'm Mary Sandberg, Professional Development Coordinator, and I'm so happy to be standing here today to welcome you, our colleagues and friends from all district sites, from all employee groups, together here in one location for this one day. I would say that makes this a pretty special day. But it doesn't end there. It is also my pleasure to introduce the members of our SRJC Board of Trustees who are able to join us this morning. And if you will please stand as I call you. Board President Terry Lindley. Board Clerk Don Edgar. Trustees Robert Burdo, Richard Call, Don Zumwalt, and our other board trustees Jeff Kundi and Oneida Pellegrini, and our student trustee Robert Edmonds. I'd also like to welcome Don Chigazola, President of the Foundation, and Max Schwing, President of Schoen Farm Foundation. Of course, I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to our President, Dr. Frank Chong, and we are honored to welcome our guest speaker, Jim Montoya. Please join me in a welcoming round of applause, which you've already done, so thank you for that. Okay, I'll be back later with some more information about the day, but it's now time for my reminder to turn off our cell phones. Thank you for that. And now, please help me welcome Scott Rosen, Coordinator of Faculty Development and our Computer Sciences faculty member here at SRJC. Come on.
Good morning, SRJC. How's everybody doing out there? Good deal. My handlers have prepared a little speech for me, but I'm just going to, not pay attention to it. No, seriously. Wow, what a morning. This is going to be a great day. I want to tell you, let's get a nice big round of applause for Mary Sandberg. She's really great. She and the team, well, she helped spearhead the entire team to put this whole day together, so we want to definitely say thank you to Mary for that. A lot of hard work going into that. Well, good morning and welcome, SRJC. This is Creating Our Future, the Santa Rosa Junior College Fall 2013 PDA Day. So we're going to have a good time today. My name's Scott Rosen. I am the Faculty Development Coordinator for the Petaluma campus. Do we have Petaluma in the house? Represent! I love it. This is going to be a special day. The whole PDA team and the staff development team and the professional development committee worked together with Dr. Chong and his cabinet to facilitate this fantastic day. And again, it's going to be this another unique opportunity to get all of us together here, classified staff, management team, faculty, and students. And so thank you all for being here. Really great. This is going to be an opportunity to collaborate and continue to create this shared vision for this institution and really provide the inspiration and insight to become, a first-in-class, a world-class institution. And so that's pretty awesome. I'd also like to thank Javier Rodriguez and Carl Dobson and their teams for providing all of the logistics and the beautiful stage ambiance and all of that stuff. A special thank you going out to Russ Bowden, who puts in tireless effort, and the whole media services team. Thank you guys for that. Yeah. We've got entertainment today for lunch. Good stuff. Robert and Amy Ethington are going to be singing and playing. So, yeah, very cool. The other folks, I have a kind of a list of thank yous here, but I want to just make sure that we recognize all the folks in HR and the professional development team, Chris Abrahamson, Sabrina Meyer, Edna Lafort, Elizabeth McPherson, Linda J., Brenda Dixon for all the help with the special projects. And I know we have our professional development committee members in the house today, and so I just want to make sure that we recognize Chris Abrahamson. And if I could have the PDC actually stand while I recognize you, that'd be great. Chris Abrahamson, Sabrina Meyer, Tara Jacobson, Alicia Jourdain, John Eberly, Mike Grabowski, Tracy Rule, Amy Ethington, Deidre Franzak, Norberto Quiros, and our new 2013-14 members, Betsy Fisher and Jerry Dow. Thank you so much. It's a lot of work putting this stuff together, I'm telling you. I get to do a special announcement right now. I get to introduce you to our new faculty development coordinator for the Santa Rosa campus. So please help me put a warm Santa Rosa JC welcome together for Katie Gerber.
Well, thank you, Scott. All right. Well, thank you, Scott. I don't think I can do quite the follow-up for Scott, but I want to give some special thanks to Dr. Mary Kay Rudolph and also Dr. Robin Fotley and Mary Sandberg for actually considering me for this position. I'm really excited about participating. I'm not sure it's going to show as much as Scott, though, but I'll try. And I really look forward to working with everybody and with all of you and also the professional development team. They've got a great program today, and I can say that I had nothing to do with it, but there are 38 workshops today, and 70 of our SRJC colleagues are going to be presenting today. If you are one of those presenters, we would actually like you to stand up for just a moment, if you would. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you to all of you. Great. So, of course, there are a lot of many people working behind the scenes, including developing content and helping those presenters, but also putting all of this together. This event in particular pulls in major participation from all levels of the college, and we thank all of you who take part in that. We really couldn't do it without it. I would like to just mention a little bit about strategic planning. Perhaps you might not have thought about it, but you know this school is going through a strategic planning process. And there are a couple PDA workshops today about strategic planning. And as one of the people on one of the strategic planning work groups, we really would like to get your input. This morning at 10:30, the Environmental Scan Group will be providing an update. The mission, vision, and values, or I actually should switch that now, the vision, mission, and values work group will be actually unveiling their draft vision and mission at both 10:30 and 2:45 this afternoon. And then the strategic planning goals, objectives, and strategies work group, go team, we're going to actually be presenting a workshop on sharing some draft goals that we've come up with, and we really need your feedback on that. It's a really important chance to actually weigh in on the process and where SRJC is heading in the future. So thank you again, and I really look forward to this, but without further ado, I'd like to bring up Debbie Weatherly, the Classified Senate President. So, thank you.
I always like to be first and get this over with so I can enjoy the rest of the day. So thank you, Katie. Good morning, and welcome back to the fall semester, which always brings with it those fresh new minds that are hungry for the education that our institution offers. What a privilege we all have to be part of that process. I've always been amazed at the potential effect we may have on the students we come in contact with and the opportunity to help change the direction of a student's life. I recently had the chance to watch the movie Freedom Writers, starring Hilary Swank. This true story is based on the life of Erin Gruwell, a new teacher assigned to a classroom full of at-risk students. She transforms these failing students into a model classroom by her personal involvement in each student's life. Her willingness to sacrifice her own time, taking on an extra job to raise money for field trips that would enable her students a variety of experiences they otherwise would not have was inspiring. This is a reminder to me, why I am so proud to work in our environment and be an instrument to encourage our students. One of her assignments is to have each student journal about their lives, and as she reads each one, you realize just how difficult the life of each student has been. We must always remember that our students that pass through our hands each have a story to tell. Could I have the faculty stand? And I know that's a lot of you, but could you please stand? Awesome. I want to thank you. I want to thank you and honor you for the great sacrifices that you make that many times go unnoticed. The supplies that are bought with your own money, the time spent away from your families and spent on special students. And you all know who those are. As we have witnessed more times than we would like in recent events, there have been teachers who have been even given their lives for the sake of their students. I want to acknowledge each of you and remind you that your labor is definitely not in vain. None of us would be here right now without the teachers we have had in our lives. So thank you for giving of yourselves. This summer, I attended the Classified Leadership Institute in Sacramento. I was asked to do a presentation on the classified employee's role in student success. There were many stories shared, and while we aren't in the classroom teaching the student, it is said that the student must pass through 11 hands that are classified employees before they ever reach the classroom. So we too play a very important role in helping the new student maneuver their way through the maze of enrollment. I could have just shared the stories I heard at the conference, which were a great testimony to what is going on across the state and other colleges. But instead, I have asked our own classified employees for permission to share their stories of encouragement that they have offered to students along their ways to student success, and I would like to share with you just a few of those stories. The first story I have is as follows. 4 years ago, we invited our high school exchange student from Sao Paulo, Brazil, to return to live with us and go to school at the SRJC. She has worked hard for the past 3 years and graduated with honors and an AA degree in the spring. She had planned on transferring to a state university, but the cost for an international student was more than she could bear. She has been paying the tuition herself by working part-time at the SRJC and babysitting. After discussing other options, she decided to pursue nursing. She will continue to attend the SRJC with hopes of getting into the nursing program in 2015. We know she will go on to great things in her life and are happy to have provided guidance along the way. This is a classified employee that really puts action behind her support by allowing a student to enter their personal lives in order to better themselves. Another person shared, "Years ago, I worked in the English department. One afternoon, a young man came in and hesitantly asked for a job application to be a reader for the English faculty. I handed him the form, and he began to complete it while standing at my counter. Normally, I would have asked him to step aside or find a table outside the office. But as there was no one behind him at that moment, I decided not to say anything. He stood there for what seemed like a long time, and when I looked at the form, I saw that he had barely gotten his name written at the top. I still didn't say anything but wondered how he was ever going to get through a stack of freshman papers. Eventually, I gently suggested to the young man that he could take the form with him and bring it back later. He didn't return as far as I knew. Several years later, I had transferred to a similar job in the EL department in a building across campus. One day, a man stopped me in the hallway outside the office and asked if I remembered him. It was the same young man who had come looking for work as a reader. He told me that at that time, he had just suffered a traumatic brain injury from a bicycle accident, although he had been wearing a helmet, and that he was doing his best to learn how to do things like speak, read, and write. Suddenly, everything about his behavior that day made sense. He said he made a full recovery, but it took a long time. Then he thanked me for my kindness, for my patience, and my unspoken support that day. Though I didn't understand what a difficult time he was having, I have perhaps never been so glad that I treated someone with patience and kindness when I could have so easily been dismissive. I am grateful that we happened to cross paths on campus all those years later so that he could take the opportunity to thank me for a moment of generosity on my part, the impact of which I could never have known otherwise, and an impact that the young man never forgot, nor I will never forget it either. The last story I wanted to share is, sometimes I forget the student workers are more than just our employees or students. They are kids, young adults, that need to feel wanted and that they matter. Their home life is not always ideal, both emotionally and financially. Of course, whose is perfect? Recently, one of my student workers was really floundering in both areas. Her home life is very difficult, bordering on abusive, and she has needed some medical procedures which she would have to pay out of pocket since she has no insurance. She informed me she was going to quit school and find a job to pay for her upcoming procedures. I took a little time to really look at her situation, who she is and where she was headed. We took a walk and I asked her if she was happy where she lived, how she lived, did she want a family, and how and where did she want her future children to be raised. I found out she has the same dreams I had and am blessed to have, to be happy, loved, successful, own a beautiful house, and raise children in a great neighborhood. She also would like to own a business. With that, I gave her two choices. She could quit and find a job that would probably pay minimum wage and work on paying off her bills, or she could take the harder road, which would be to go to school. However, I told her if she stayed in school, we, our office, would do all we could to help her succeed. But the choice was hers. She is not a scholar, and school is very difficult for her, so it would have been easy for her to quit. Thankfully, she decided to stay in school. We were then able to get her set up with a plan for her schooling that will give her a goal and direction. If she stays on track, she will also be eligible for financial aid in the future. With so much appreciation, we were then also able to contact one of our alumni that performed one of the procedures she needed free of charge. After our walk, with tears in her eyes, she said, "Thank you for caring." She said nobody at home cares about her or what she does. Isn't it amazing that all it really took for her to feel encouraged, wanted, and needed was a little bit of time, energy, and the ability to really be listened to? Of course, her story is still unfolding, and ultimately it's up to her to succeed here at SRJC. We will continue to guide her and try to help her in any way we can. I'm just hopeful we can have the same effect on all our student workers, but unique to their life situations. So I am very proud to work among so many that have hearts for the student. In closing, I would like to share something that Rafael Vasquez, EOPS Outreach Specialist, recently sent out an email with the following statement written at the bottom. The student is the most important person on campus. Without them, there would be no need for the institution. The student is not a cold enrollment statistic, but a flesh and blood human being with feeling and emotions like our own. The student is not someone to be tolerated so that we can do our thing. They are our thing. The student is not dependent upon us, but rather we are dependent on them. The student is not an interruption of our work, but the purpose of it. We are not doing them a favor by serving them. They are doing us a favor by giving us the opportunity to do so. I believe every office and department should hang this in a prominent place as a reminder to why we are all here. Thank you, and may you all have a blessed and prosperous year. Now it gives me the greatest pleasure to introduce to you a very wise yet humble woman that I am honored to call my friend and whom I have had the privilege to work with in shared governance, Robert Fotley, Academic Senate President.
Wasn't that beautiful? Hate to follow her. Members of the Board of Trustees, Dr. Chong, administrators, classified staff, visiting students, and especially my faculty colleagues, welcome to the 95th academic year at Santa Rosa Junior College. There. This year, serving as Academic Senate President, I gained deep appreciation for the many faculty, classified administrators, and our trustees who work diligently to make Santa Rosa Junior College a place of excellence. Many of you have heard that the Chronicle of Higher Education placed SRJC on the honor roll for being a great place to work. The dedicated efforts of many go into making this an exceptional working environment and creating our future. As a teaching institution, our primary focus is on students. We serve and provide with exceptional education. But the student experience goes far beyond what faculty provide to our students. Positive experience includes caring help and support, like Debbie just described so eloquently. It also is the behind-the-scenes efforts that keeps our computers running and campus beautiful and our college accredited and solvent. We are all here for the student experience, and they will be eagerly looking to us next week to fulfill the promise that comes with the opportunity to gain a college education. As we look at our changing community demographics, our opportunity to become a Hispanic serving institution, I am reminded of an ecological concept of plant succession, a topic I would like to explore briefly with you today. After an event like a volcanic eruption or a severe disturbance like a fire, a community goes through a series of changes that alter the composition. In the early stages, pioneering plant species are able to survive harsh environments, perhaps with no soil, water holding capacity, or shade. But their growth inevitably changes the environment, creating a little bit more shade, soil, and less extreme conditions. Each community member changes the environment slightly and paves the way for the immigration of new species, thus changing the community composition. Eventually, unless disturbance alters the path, the community will stabilize around a climax community. The climax community species are characterized as being in harmony with the existing conditions and are not outcompeted by newcomers. Locally, you can think of a redwood forest, oak woodland, or grassland. Although dynamic in nature, the climax community has much more complex interaction and much more stable than is early succession. For instance, take a monoculture like a grape vineyard. To keep succession at bay, a tremendous amount of energy goes into maintaining the current state, pruning, fertilizing, weeding, and eliminating pests. Conversely, a natural community, up here on the hill, complex ecosystem is self-maintaining. It requires no such input. Thus, it is said that diversity and complexity lead to stability. Over the last 95 years, SRJC and Sonoma County have grown and diversified. Today, SRJC's Latino population is over 29%. With greater than 25% Latinos, SRJC is eligible for Hispanic Serving Institution status in early 2014. Further shifting our demographic, our Latino population is growing at a rate of more than 1% a year. Although it is important for students to have role models that reflect themselves, if we look around this room, we will not see the same makeup among SRJC employees. With long careers, it will take time for our faculty composition to move towards greater diversity. None of us can change our ethnic origins, but we can become culturally competent. Our professional development is therefore critically important to our success and the success of our students. It is essential that we hire qualified candidates that add to SRJC's cultural and ethnic diversity. And it is equally important that once they are hired, these faculty feel supported, welcomed, and honored for their unique perspectives and ability to enrich SRJC's community. Last year, when I addressed you, times were uncertain, and I asked you to work together for the mutual benefit of all. Since then, demonstrating SRJC at its best, we joined together to weather the storm. With the passage of Proposition 30, we can begin the process of enhancing our course offerings and support. Although the picture is not yet rosy, we have the opportunity to reach out again to our community and provide the education that has made us prosperous and well-loved. After years of frustration with the lack of available classes, it is time to bring students back to our campus and our classes. In spite of the challenging conditions, we accomplished much last year. With so much to cover, I need to be very brief, but I will send out a copy of my much longer uncut version. Faculty, staff, students, and administrators are working together to develop a strategic plan that will guide SRJC for several years. Today is an excellent opportunity to check on the progress of the strategic plan work groups. The Chancellor's Office and the state legislature are reshaping college education. The Student Success Act aims to move students towards completion as quickly as possible. We are making progress on several of the student success mandates. This summer, we reached the goal of having transfer model curriculum for 80% of our majors. By fall 2014, 100% are required. All TMCs must have a CID number identifying similar CC and CSU courses. The new priority registration pilot will be implemented in fall 2014. We now may add appropriate skill-building course prerequisites. And we will be utilizing a new scorecard aimed at increasing the number of certificates, degrees, and transfers earned. Already it is time to begin preparation of our self-study for accreditation in 2015. Mary Kay Rudolph has been joined by the amazing Wanda Brzezicki as our accreditation steering committee co-chairs. ACCJC, our accrediting body, grades schools on governance, financial stability, instructional programs, and how well students are learning. There is much to do in preparation, which includes updating our entire board policy and procedure manual, a task that is already well underway. Faculty are encouraged to review important policy and procedure updates. Remember all those SLOs we had to write before our midterm accreditation report. To avoid sanctions for this accreditation cycle, we must assess 100% of all the courses, programs, and certificates and majors, and we are woefully behind at this time. I don't seem to have a light there. The Academic Senate accomplished much last year. Senate representation was reorganized to increase effectiveness. The Workload Task Force will move forward to define 3 different types of labs based on instructor workload outside of class. To improve faculty input, Faculty Staffing Committee will be co-chaired by the Academic Senate President, and 1 member will be added. As always, the Senate is focused on improving full-time, part-time faculty ratio, and we hope to move towards this goal as our funding reality improves. An academic integrity report form was developed to keep records for student academic integrity violations. So far, 39 reports have been filed and 3 resulted in formal action. Having instructors file violations can greatly improve the culture of supporting integrity and honesty on campus and provides a mechanism for tracking repeat offenders. Last year, Dr. Chong's vision of a Teaching Fellows program took form in a successful spring launch. The program is a great opportunity for students and a rewarding opportunity for mentors. As a measure of success, a significant number of mentors reapplied for the first year-long program. Speaking of mentors, as we see many of our past leaders at or near retirement, we are losing institutional memory. In response last year, the Senate made significant progress on developing new faculty leaders. In addition to the successful multi-year new faculty orientation and mentorship program that helps guide new faculty as they develop as teachers and colleagues, with administrative help, we can now send 3 faculty to the State Academic Senate's Plenary and Leadership Institute. Lastly, we piloted an Academic Senate mentorship program that pairs a senator with a faculty member who is interested in exploring involvement in district governance. If you are interested this year, grab yourself a Senate mentor. Only with capable and dedicated faculty leaders serving our SRJC community will we achieve diversity and stability in the years to come. As we work together to create our future, we will continue SRJC's legacy of excellence. And only by being the best we can be will we be able to serve our students, community, and provide exceptional learning experience. As we greet our anxious and excited students next week, let us remember that we are in the business of making dreams come true. Thank you. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Frank Chong. Dr. Chong has dedicated himself to continuing SRJC's legacy of excellence through championing innovative programs, humor, and warmth. He brings a special personal note to our campus. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Chong to the stage.
Thank you for that warm welcome. Good morning, everybody. I want to first, I don't want to follow our Academic Senate President and our Classified Senate President because they are just on fire. I mean, let's give them a big round of applause. First of all, I want to welcome all of you back from a restful vacation. I spent some time talking to many of you during the coffee clutch, and I want to really give a shout out to those folks who led the Bring Your Own Mug. So we're moving towards sustainability. And many of you have gone to Hawaii, to Alaska, to Spain, and I decided to go back east to see my sister Joyce, Chong, who many of you know from working at Sonoma State, and she's now relocated to Boston. And we had a great time together, reuniting. And then Lena and I took a trip up to Maine to see that great state of Maine, which is called Vacation Land. If you haven't been to Maine, I highly recommend it. Lobsters are plentiful. Prices are low, but when I left the state, the lobster supply had dropped tremendously. The best lobster roll in the state is called the Clam Shack in Kennebunkport. And we got online with Lena, and we went back there twice. So it was a great vacation. The second part of my vacation consisted of going to New York City to go get my daughter, see her perform. She received a scholarship with the Alvin Ailey Summer Intensive Program, and as a proud dad, to see her dance in the Alvin Ailey Performance Dance Center was a highlight for me. And then we went on a college tour. I can't get away from campuses. We went to Juilliard, to Fordham, to NYU, to Barnard, to Marymount, to SUNY Purchase, State University of New York Purchase, all colleges that have fantastic dance programs. But it was interesting for me to sit back as a parent and go on these tours. And I can't help but compare those colleges to where I work. And I'll tell you, they have nothing on us. I'm serious. So as we prepare ourselves for the coming semester, I am really encouraged. I'm really optimistic about our future. And I recently prepared some remarks to our Board of Trustees and to the college community at our latest board meeting called Preparing Santa Rosa Junior College for the 21st Century. We're a mere less than 5 years away from our 100th anniversary centennial, or as Kate McClintock likes to say, Jubilee. I think that's her Australian English background. But that's quite significant. You know, we're the 10th oldest community college in California, and also the 10th largest. And my promise and my commitment to the college community when I arrived was, how do we make a great college better? And I think we're really on the way to doing that. I really want to thank all of the individuals in the audience, in the community. The leadership that I've seen explode at this college has been nothing less than inspirational. Please give yourselves a hand. And part of the job as a president is quite simply, I have to try to provide and facilitate the resources that's necessary for you to do your job in the classroom, pure and simple. And we're on our way to doing that. We've been able to really become entrepreneurial. We've been able to receive over $10 million in philanthropic gifts from the foundation since my arrival. And I really want to give kudos to Kate McClintock, Don Shigazola, the foundation board, and everybody in the community for stepping up during these difficult times. So let's give the foundation folks a big hand. And what we've been able to do with that dollars is, I really wanted to shift the foundation from not only just being a circle of honor, which we recently had this week, which provides over $1.5 million of scholarships to our students, and also with the return of the Doyle Scholarship. That's huge. We have 700 students who are going to come in tomorrow and this week who are going to receive Doyle Scholarships. So things are coming back. But I also, in talking to the faculty needs support, so the foundation has really stepped up. And how have they done that? They have funded the Santa Rosa Junior College Teaching Fellows Program. They have funded an innovations program that faculty can now apply for grants to innovate and to try to acquire greater student success with small grants. And this year, the foundations recognize the need that faculty have. So we're going to endow about $80,000 as a start. And you'll see it in the Insider this week, that all faculty who have ideas and who have needs, and there will be criteria developed, and there'll be $80,000 that's going to be going out to grants to support faculty initiatives. So we're very, very pleased about that. We also are extending ourselves to be more aggressive in terms of getting our fair share of federal grant dollars. And we were able to receive a $2 million grant under the leadership of Catherine Wilson and Ricardo Navarrete and Marty Lee to prepare our HEP students. These are students who are needing their GED, mainly targeting the Latino Hispanic community, our future students, so that they can get their GEDs, and that program is well underway. We're able to receive a grant at Petaluma campus through the Gates Foundation called Gateway to College, and this is a program that will allow students who are dropouts or near dropouts, and I went to their orientation on Saturday, and you could see 31 students and their families who came in kind of hesitantly at the beginning, but after some warm-up exercises, they became animated. And this is a second bite of the apple for them. Many of these students dropped out, and it reminded me of that movie, The Breakfast Club. You go in there and they look kind of lethargic and they don't want to be there, but by the end of the day, I think they're going to be committed. And I'm really excited about having this program down in Petaluma. We're also able to get some grants up at Schoen Farm to really develop the next generation of farmers and ag in this community. And so it goes on and on. So I really want to thank the administration, the faculty, Classified for working together to really try to identify what is it that we need to make our students successful, and not just sitting there waiting for the state to endow us with money that we know is not going to come. But we do have the ability to get resources with the foundations, with philanthropy, with federal grants, and we're developing infrastructure through the leadership of Mary Kay Rudolph in terms of making sure, and Casey Graney, that we submit competitive proposals. And let me tell you, having been on the other end and competing against you as a former college president, I do not want to compete against SRJC, when you look at our track record. So we're also moving more into globalization with the leadership of Peg Saragina. She has really been able to attract more students from international countries. We have some students from China coming as a result of a visit we went to in the spring. We have some students from Norway, and I think we're well on our way to steadily increasing our international student and globalizing our curriculum as well. And in the area of sustainability, I think the legacy of Jessica Jones and what she has meant and working with Katie and the environmental group, we're well on our way into becoming a model college. We received an honorable mention from the state facilities groups for being one of the most sustainable campuses in the California community college system. So please give yourselves a hand for doing that. So what's left? I can just rest on my laurels. I don't think so. When I've been talking to faculty and Classified and staff, I really look as we enter our 100th anniversary that there are two major challenges that I see, maybe three. One is in the area of infrastructure, and basically we're an aging campus. I've had Tony Exon and his staff and Paul do a top-to-bottom look at our facilities, and many of you faculty toil under what I consider to be less than ideal classroom conditions. If we're going to be the best college in this state and in the nation, we should have the best facilities so I can give my best faculty the best toolbox and environments so our students will come into a classroom that exudes success. And that's something that I am going to work with my board and with the community to resource this college so we can look at renovating many of the facilities, including the one in which we're sitting in today. Thank you. And in the area of technology, huge area. Every day you can't pick up a newspaper without looking at the impact that technology is having exponentially in changing how we teach, how students learn, and how industry and government and entities operate. And we have to be a leader, not a lagger in technology. Only a generation ago, SRJC was a leader. We were one of the first colleges to offer classes through the internet. We were one of the first wired campuses. Yahoo had ranked us a top 3 in the nation in community colleges being wired. Today, we're at the bottom of investment in technology with like colleges, and we cannot tolerate that. We have to do something about it. So, and I really appreciate the leadership of Scott Conrad and the IT staff. They work extremely hard in trying to patch things together. Our student information system, also known as the schooling system, was developed a generation ago. At that time, we were a part of a consortium of 35 colleges. Today, we are a consortium of 1, us. And it's just not sustainable. We have to be able to look at what the needs are of our facilities, our faculty, and our technology, and put together a plan so we can really invest in SRJC, so in the future we will be a destination point, as we've been for generations, of people from Sonoma County and Northern California, and now internationally. So I would just say that in terms of diversity, and I appreciate Robin's comments about it, you know, I look at diversity as a really big tent, you know, and as we see who is coming to our campuses, whether it's foster youth, returning veterans, disabled students, students with mental challenges and physical challenges, students of color, gay, lesbian, transgender. That's all the tapestry of what's great about this country. And I think Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, from what I've seen, is a very tolerant and also a community that embraces diversity and doesn't shy away from it. So I think in the coming year, I'm hoping that we can have some what I call adult conversations about how to be a truly diverse college that reflects the diversity of the community in which we live and in which we serve. Thank you. So I'll wrap up by just saying welcome back, and I'll finish with a quote that I heard at one of the parent orientations when Father McShane, the president of Fordham University, said to us, "I will never insult you with low expectations. I will never insult you with low expectations." And you, the faculty, staff, and administrators, have set a high bar, and we're going to keep it high as long as I'm here. Thank you very much. Before I introduce Jim Montoya, I wanted to show Jim a little video that we did at our State of the College address that I showed to our community that I wanted to share with this college community, because many of you weren't able to attend that. And it's about coming home. For many of our students, this is their home. And for me personally, thank you for welcoming me to your home. What a wonderful video that Russ Bowden and his staff worked on so hard. A picture tells 1,000 words. So right now it's my distinct honor and pleasure to introduce a friend and a colleague, Jim Montoya. I first met Jim when my wife was pregnant with our first child. That was 17 years ago. And I got a call from Stanford University, a college that turned me down, so I don't know if I want to take the call. But it was from a friend of mine who was a dean there, and he said, "Frank, we'd like to see if you'd be available to serve as a reader on our admissions committee." Our boss, Mr. Montoya, felt that he wanted some more diversity in the reading pool. So I took it on, and it was extra money. I had a kid coming, and but I got to meet Jim, and it was really fascinating getting behind the curtains and seeing how Stanford selects students, and gave me a better appreciation for the challenges of getting 16,000 applications for 1,600 spots at the time. But Jim was always very thoughtful, he was always very fair, and he always was interested in not just having a class filled with one group or another group, but to make sure we have a tapestry that reflects the diversity of the state and the country. And since then, Jim's moved on to bigger and better things, I would say, and now he's vice president of the College Board in charge of higher education programs. And throughout that time, we've maintained a professional relationship, and he has always called on me, and I've always called on him. So when I thought about the fall, last year we had Rob Johnstone come and frame college success from a national perspective. And I think diversity is job number one. We're talking about it. I couldn't think of a better person to come to us to talk about the changing face of America and the world. And what I respect most about Jim is he's a first-generation college goer. He doesn't wear it on his sleeve, but he has never forgotten where he came from. And I'm really honored and privileged that he would come here on his own time, on his own dime, at no cost to the district board members. I did have to take him to Coppola last night for dinner, and on my dime. And we had a wonderful experience. Thank you, Bob Bordeaux. I won't be submitting receipts. So, it's a really honor and privilege, and I think you're in for a treat. So let's please join me in giving us SRJC welcome to Jim Montoya. Thank you.
Good morning. Since we're talking about budget, we split a salad and split dessert. So there you go. But it's so wonderful to have a chance to finally be here, because Frank brings Santa Rosa Junior College to a national level, actually international conversations, in his role on the College Board's advisory group for community colleges. So I have always heard, since Frank has gotten here, so much about the faculty here, the community, the students, the campus. And it is just so nice to finally be here, to meet all of you, and to see for myself why Frank and the trustees are so proud of this amazing campus and wonderful faculty and staff. So let me applaud you. Now, so I felt like I knew a lot about Santa Rosa Junior College, but I didn't feel like I knew anything driving in about Santa Rosa. And I don't mean the city of Santa Rosa, I mean Santa Rosa. Who was Santa Rosa? Now, you probably know who Santa Rosa was. I did not know that this was the first canonized saint from the Americas, or that she was from Peru, or that her name came from the fact that she was so physically lovely. Her real name was Isabel, as you probably know, but when she was canonized, it was Saint Rosa. Nor did I know that she was a slight recluse, which I think was very, very interesting. So as I was reading about her, I was also thinking about those other wonderful recluses. And Emily Dickinson came to mind, because I became convinced of the fact that they actually would have been friends. And Emily Dickinson said, "We turn not older with years, but newer every day. And as I saw the title of today's work, Creating Our Future, I really view it as just that. Becoming newer every day to be able to meet the needs of students and the community. And already I have heard so much spoken about those forces that are shaping the world. I will say, Debbie, that as you were congratulating the faculty for their work and saying, especially their work with those special students, and you said, and you know who they are, I was thinking, oh my God, I was one of those. You, who you are, because I was one of those. As Frank said, you know, I'm a first generation college goer, the first to be able to go away to college. My dad was a barber who eventually got to work at a post office, which we were so thrilled about. My mom, who's from Mexico, came to work in the canneries and the orchards of Santa Clara. She became a housekeeper, and eventually I had the opportunity of going to college. To this day, they are still disappointed that I did not go to a Catholic university, that I ended up at Stanford. So my mom, who's 91, who I will visit tomorrow, will be especially happy that I read about Santa Rosa. So let us think about those forces that are shaping the world. And again, you have touched upon them in so many meaningful ways already in the comments that have been made. Innovation, migration, saturation, personalization, and of course, globalization. And what makes it so interesting is that each of these forces that we talk about shaping our world, and if I were to add a sixth, it would be transparency. But the fact is, your world here in Santa Rosa is one that very much touches upon these. As Frank was talking about the need for greater focus on technology, thinking about innovation. My gosh, as we were talking about the wine industry here, just thinking about where it was 30 years ago, where it is today, and where it will be tomorrow. And of course, how that intersects with where it will be tomorrow is tied to this issue of migration and immigration. Thinking about the number of students you mentioned who are coming from China. The fact of the matter is, in the last 5 years, we have seen the number of students from China enrolled in community colleges throughout this country grow fivefold to now over 11,000. And if we think broader in regard to migration, what we know is that today approximately 2.5 million students cross borders around the world to pursue higher education. By 2025, that number will be something like 7,500,000. So I know as you give thought to your future, clearly the global nature of higher education must certainly be on your mind. And of course, as we think about migration and immigration, we also think about those issues that impact us on a day-to-day basis. I mentioned to you, I am a product of immigration. As we were looking and talking earlier about Latino students, I was thinking about the variety of Latino students. Latinos in general, those who wear bow ties, those who don't wear bow ties. But I was thinking about my own mom's situation, moving here from Mexico. She came as Marta Zarate, became Montoya. My oldest sister, Alicia Hortensia, who is very Mexicana in so many ways and was partly raised in Mexico, came first. And yet, by the time they had their last child, me, my name ended up being James Michael Montoya, right? And then you take the next generation, my sister's children, Rebecca Rose Lafferty. And then you take her son, Phineas James Stokes. Latino. Do not let the name fool you. But I think it speaks to the complexity as we think about issues of embracing different kinds of students. Because again, in this area, especially in California, with the dramatic increase in the Latino population, what we see is great diversity among those students. And your greatness, from my perspective, will be in your ability to understand the distinctions between these students and what you do so well, looking at students as individuals. Those stories were incredibly touching that were shared about students. And when we look at that third force, personalization, the expectation we all have of being treated as an individual, of people knowing us. When I talk about the most important part, for example, of first-year college success, it is something as simple as a student knowing that a faculty member or a staff member, whether he or she be a custodian on campus or work in an office or be a faculty member, know their name. And think about it. For all of us, even the most successful students, when I became vice provost at Stanford, the very first thing I did was a survey of undergraduate and graduate students, asking them, what would make your experience at Stanford a more positive one? Now, you might have expected the typical responses: better food, better dating, better housing, better parking. You know what it was? To feel more valued. And I kept thinking, on this very privileged campus, if these students who have done so well in school to get here feel that need to feel valued, what about students coming from different academic backgrounds and different levels of success? So I think what I hear going on here at Santa Rosa, where you care so much about the student, is just so important, and even more important as we move forward into this century. Saturation and globalization. Saturation touches us in every single way, but from a global perspective, as I visit places like India and spend time in China, what is clear is that the experience of the world's citizens is changing dramatically. As many of you know, for the first time in the world's history, over half of the world's population are now living in cities. And that's a dramatic change. As we think about saturation, clearly thinking about other countries, India, for example, in its efforts to significantly increase the percentage of its students going on into higher education using the United States as a model. The hope is in the next 10 years to be able to move its college-going rate from 12% much closer to 20%, which will mean for them an additional 35 million college students. So again, the impact of saturation and globalization is something that is so important to me. Now, the title of my speech, and this was months ago as I was thinking about it, was They Are Counting on Us, Student Success in 2013. And I was thinking about you in terms of all the people and all the groups who are counting on you, the faculty and staff of Santa Rosa Junior College. Why? Because what we know is that education continues to be the most important and powerful path to empowerment in this country, and families understand that. And I was looking at your own demographic, and again, thinking of the fact that even those students who are returning in their 50s, you didn't list 60s, and I'm very sensitive about that as I get ready for my 60th birthday next month. But the fact is that there are so many groups who think about you, who depend on you, who have high expectations of you, and who are counting on you. So let me start with parents. Parents who want a high-quality education, who want a safe and beautiful campus, and who, again, understand that while they may not have had the opportunity of going to college, they want their sons and daughters to be in an environment where they will be successful. And what we know in this country is that there are actually more parents today than 5 years ago who did not have the opportunity of going to college and whose sons and daughters will be the first in their family to graduate. Certainly public accountability. As Frank suggested, he was probably, in Washington, D.C., surrounded by this all the time. Public accountability that tax dollars and university dollars and student time is being used wisely. The economic sector. All one has to do is to read your annual report to understand how important you are to the economic environment and its ability to thrive. Your ability as a faculty and staff to match the needs of the community, but at the same time holding on to your very strong tradition of liberal learning. I mentioned the immigrant communities, and again, I think it came to mind not only because I know of the beautiful dynamic in terms of immigrants who work here in the Sonoma County and the need for them to have a first-rate institution of higher education, but also because on a day-to-day basis in my life now in New York, in taxi cabs, I have the opportunity of talking to lots of taxi cab drivers who tend to be immigrants, who tend to have photos of their sons and daughters in their cabs. And as soon as I mention that I'm affiliated with higher education in America, we move into deep, wonderful, and meaningful conversation about why they came to America and the dreams and hopes that they have for their children. So in fact, we do make dreams come true. I was thinking a lot about our K-12 colleagues. And this is very important to me because as we think about first-year college success, and we'll be talking about that this afternoon, there is no more important partner that you have than our colleagues in K-12 as we think about college preparation. And while it may not be the case here in Sonoma County, I will tell you nationwide there is still too much of the mentality of you don't need to worry, you don't need to push yourself because you're just going to community college. That kind of thinking is inappropriate, it's antiquated, and quite honestly, it is destructive to the success of students. The fact of the matter is, for students who are leaving high school and moving into a community college by choice, many of them will be working part-time. Many of them will have families. The fact of the matter is, being college ready is even more important from my perspective in terms of their level of success. So when we talk about college readiness, we are talking about college readiness for those students who are going to 2-year and 4-year institutions. And again, I believe the partnership with K-12 nationwide, internationally, must be stronger. I was thinking about the fact that transfer institutions, 4-year institutions, are counting on you. Here's the fact. While we look at President Obama's commitment to having 60% of young Americans between the ages of 25 and 34 having a college degree by 2025, we are not going to be able to do it without you. We're not going to be able to do it because we do need more students getting certificates, getting degrees, and more students not only enrolling in 4-year institutions, but graduating from those institutions. And as we look at the demographic changes, and we look at the differences between college going rates and college graduation rates for all students, on average about 41%. We look at Latino students, 19%. We have to be very focused on making sure that students coming from communities where college graduation rates are low are given the kind of support that get them on that commencement stage. Also, last but not least, as I was walking on your campus, those who are counting on you are those who love athletics. I was asking Frank last night, tell me about your athletics program. Right? I think one of the beautiful things about your campus is indeed the mixture of academics and athletics, culture, including the Culinary Institute across the street, your vineyard, very interesting. But I was thinking about the fact that athletics reflects, in many respects, an important link between the community and the campus. And that success in athletics, particularly when focused upon athletes who are successful in the classroom as well, serves as an important model, particularly for younger boys and girls who are coming to the games from the local elementary schools, junior high schools, and high schools. So, as I think about who indeed is counting on you, there are lots of people. And perhaps most important, your students. I will leave here, get in my car, drive to the airport, thinking about Santa Rosa Junior College as really an example for all community colleges, for all colleges, in terms of the care you have about the students, the really high expectations that you, your president, and your board have for you, and the fact that from everything I've seen, everything I've read, everything I've heard, and everything I will experience later this afternoon, I just have no doubt that your future is extraordinarily bright. So I go back to Santa Rosa, I go back to Emily Dickinson, I go back to this notion that as you approach your centennial, your jubilee, 5 years from now, that we turn not older with years, but newer every day. Here is to being newer every day. Congratulations.
Well, Jim has been kind enough to indulge us with some question and answer time. So we're going to take some time now to get your participation. We have microphones on both sides here in Burbank, and we have a microphone in Newman Auditorium also. So if you have a question at this time, if you would please come down to the microphone, and we will take turns asking questions. Be courageous. Come on. And Chris is in Newman. Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So please feel free to come down and ask a question. I do want to say also, while you guys are thinking about your questions and coming down, that Jim's will have his session this afternoon at 1 o'clock in Newman Auditorium. We also have the best practices in teaching in a Hispanic serving institution at session 1, and we have a great session during session 4, a 2-part session on Latino youth. Failure is not an option. That's always a wonderful workshop to see if you're interested in those topics. So anybody have a question that they'd like to ask?
I have a question. Since no one else has a question.
I see somebody coming.
Oh, good. Is there
Go
someone
ahead.
with a question? Great.
So if you could just speak very closely into the microphone. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
My
Could
pleasure.
you close up?
Can you hear me now?
I can.
Okay. You've had a long career in education, and I wondered if you could give us a snapshot of how you have seen it change, and if you could put a crystal ball, where do you think it's going in brief? What has struck you the most as far as the changes you've seen?
Okay, so the question is in regard to crystal ball, what is the future, and I will interpret it for higher education. I think that there is no question that as one looks to the future, that students will be driving their education. That we will be here as faculty, as staff, as institutions to support their work. But I think we're going to see greater, if we use the term of migration, students moving from institution to institution, choosing courses, taking courses online, which I know you do offer. But the fact is, I think that that will be one significant change. We as institutions dramatically need to change. I'm thinking about a wonderful article, and I will send it to Frank, called The Avalanche, Higher Education by Sir Michael Barber, where he talks about the future trends of higher education. And the fact of the matter is that traditional, for example, 4-year liberal arts colleges are going to have a very difficult time unless they are willing to become much more flexible. I think that one of the great strengths of America's community colleges has been your ability to be flexible, to be open to change, to be willing to, again, not compromise values, but change direction where appropriate in order to serve broader community needs. So I think that that's probably the most significant change. And of course, you know, Frank's mentioning of technology. I just have to say technology, of course, will play a larger role. Will it ever take the place of a person-to-person contact? No, but it will certainly be a supplement, and I think an important supplement.
Thank you. Did we have another question here?
Thanks for being here. I'm new to education, not my own education, but working in a college environment, and my job is to help promote what we're doing here in marketing and communication. So I'm remembering back to when I was a child, around your age, and education was well supported in the community. It was the 50s, and if there was a bond measure, it passed, and if there was another one, it passed, and it kept going that way where I grew up. And times have changed. And I'm wondering what your ideas are about how do we get the culture outside of this wonderful institution in the greater community to realize that education is the key, it is essential, and it's important to support it financially and in every other way.
Right, and I think the greatest way to do that in terms of helping the broader community understand is doing much of what you're doing. I love the fact that you reinstituted your community day, for example, allowing people to come onto campus, see the great work. I am concerned that today's youth are hearing very mixed messages about the value of either getting a certificate or an AA degree, or for that matter, a BS or BA. I think that we have to reinforce the message that higher education, whether it be a technical degree or whether it be one that leads to transfer into a 4-year institution, has never been more important. Given our country's demographic changes and looking at the current patterns of college going, we are currently, as I mentioned, at 41% of young Americans having a college degree. We wish to move that somewhere between 55 and 60. Given current trends, if we do not intervene, that number will be 29% by the year 2020. We are simply not in a position to be competitive globally, or for that matter, nationally, with those kinds of percentages. And here's something that's important, and you have seen this at Santa Rosa Junior College. It is not just a question of changing demographics. It is a question of dramatically changing demographics in very short periods of time. Look where you were 5 years ago and how your student population has changed today. Look at who your new students are and that demographic makeup. That is significant. It's happened in a matter of years, and it means that as an organization you're going to have to be certainly much more adaptable. But getting back to your point, we have to connect the public to the larger picture of the United States, competitive nature, and being competitive in the world. But you, I think, as an institution, are doing the right thing in connecting the public by bringing them onto campus and having them feel that same pride that you do in what this wonderful college is doing for the community and for the broader good.
Thank you. And I think we have one more question. Two? Okay, great.
Well, I have a question about something that I see in my class. I'm a faculty member, and it's been really gratifying over the last 10 years to notice the increase in Hispanic students in my classroom, also to see students coming in from places like Thailand and China. This to me makes us a real institution that offers the world to our students. But my problem in the classroom is something that students are doing, and I understand it, but I think it's very difficult, and that is self-segregation. Mm-hmm. The Hispanic students want to sit with Hispanic students. They want to chat in Spanish, and there's always, I'm teaching studio art, so there's always this time that we have actually where groups are working together, talking. We work on tables. So I have Spanish-speaking tables, and then I have a group of students from Thailand over here who are chatting with each other in Thai. I think this really is one of our next big problems, because I think as a faculty, we have to have big ideas from you and other people who actually have much more experience with this, how to break up what I had last semester, the Thai cartel. I mean, I want these Thai students to experience what it's like to be with American students and them to have them. So we need leadership in this. We need ideas about how to get our Hispanic students to communicate their culture with us and us to them.
What a wonderful challenge that we have. And again, thinking about students, our own natural tendencies to be with people like us, people who we like, those with whom we feel comfortable. Especially for me, if I were in a studio art class, knowing my artistic lack of talent. But here's something that I find interesting. I wrote an article for the National Association of Student Personnel Administrators on the globalization of higher education. When I did research, talking to international students, to minority students, and asked them, what would you like to have as your experience? Theirs was greater opportunity to interact with different groups of students. So I think that there is a desire. I think that there is a natural tendency, though, to gravitate, especially for younger students, as they are trying to define their own identity in terms of who they are and how they wish to be viewed. But again, I think that one thing I would do is I would make clear, and you probably do this, but maybe we just need to be doing it more. Reminding students when we come into a diverse classroom that one of the great assets we have are their personal stories. I think we were talking earlier about personal stories. I believe when you invest in any kind of class of students being able to tell his or her personal story, that on some level another student is going to resonate and it gives them something to talk about. I think there is nothing wrong. I believe in students being able to sit for the most part where they wish to sit, but I have no problem in terms of mixing students up, at least in my classroom, where I think that kind of interaction is going to be very important. But just the fact you're asking this question, I think we need to think about it. I think as we focus our attention more on globalization, the same questions we are asking now are the questions we asked 10 years ago. And for that matter, in 1971 when I went to school, and people were saying, why are all the Latinos sitting together? Why are the African American students sitting together? I think we should use what we learned from that experience and really demonstrate what I will call enlightened leadership, where you as a faculty member, take it upon yourself to really help students understand the value of this diversity and to create a classroom environment where it is not only celebrated but is really utilized. So that's one thought.
Thank you. Okay, so we have time for just our last question. Oh, Chris, were you?
I teach for the Computer Studies Department here at school, and most of my students are working adults who take one specific class. They want to get job skills, perhaps to improve. As we put more and more emphasis on degrees and transfers, where there'll still be a place for students who don't have any need or desire to earn a degree or a certificate.
Yeah. I'm very interested in knowing what the mission draft that will be shared suggests in that regard. And here again, I think this is a collective decision that the community must make, that the faculty help shape in terms of the role it serves in, again, supporting the community member with one specific course who has no interest in a degree or a certificate. I don't need to tell you, you're closer to it than I am, but one of the beauties of the junior college or the community college is that it has had that very broad vision. Whether it can continue to afford to do that, again, is going to have to be made, I believe, by the community. And this gets back to issues of funding in regard to, is the community willing to support this kind of effort through its generosity, through its funding, and again, do I think it's a good thing? I think it's a wonderful thing. I think learning at any time, in any way, should be promoted. But again, it comes down to, I think, the community's decision as to where it wishes to focus its effort. But my hope is that we would have learning opportunities for every student at every age. As I mentioned, I'm 59, on the eve of becoming 60. When I think about being a happy 80 or 90 or 100-year-old, I immediately identify that with continuing to be a learner. So you may see me in one of your classrooms in the coming years. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry. Jim, I need you back up here, please. Sorry. Okay, so that was fantastic. Everybody started to get warmed up with questions, and so attend Jim's 1 o'clock workshop because it will be a dialogue like that, and you'll have an opportunity to ask more. Right now, I'd like to welcome Omar Paz to the stage. He's our Student Association President, and he is going to present Jim with a thank you gift. Omar.
Thank you very much. On behalf of the students, SRJC faculty and community, I'd like to present you with some Chong Farm, olive oil, wine, and other amenities. I really hope you enjoy your stay here in California while you're here. And think of us while you're back in New York, I really love Chong Farm, and we have some great products. You're not going to find anything like this over in New York. Sonoma County, sorry.
You know what? and Omar, just let me say, that I know, this looks absolutely beautiful, but what I will say is congratulations to you as well. I think that the student voice and student leadership is extraordinarily important, and I am so pleased for you to be as well supported by your administration and faculty, and that you are taking the time to offer leadership to this institution. So congratulations to you.
All right, thank you, Omar, and thank you, Jim. I'd like to also say thank you to Chong Farm and to Linda J. She really helped organize the basket. There's Gravenstein apples in there and different Sonoma County little treasures. So we hope you remember your time here and enjoy it back in New York City. And don't worry, we'll be shipping that. so you don't have to take it on the plane. All right, so if you would bear with me for just a few minutes, I'm going to speed read through some announcements so you can get outside and enjoy some coffee. So if you would all just, once again, please join me in applauding all the behind-the-scenes colleagues who work so very hard. And I would like to especially thank Sherry Jo and A. Dreamer for their help with interpretive services. So that wraps up our announcements and this portion of the day's activities. Thank you very much, and best wishes for a rewarding PDA day.